Obviously, if you have not heard, if you've, been in a coma, if you've been in jail, if you've just been, I don't know, locked in a well somewhere, held hostage, Julio Rodríguez, AL player of the month. We're talking 420 batting average, 45 hits, 28 singles, 10 doubles, 7 home runs. And remember that 17 hits in a 4-game span. I think he was slugging over 700. He had 20 hits in 23 games, showing you every single tool. We look at a lot of those hits and some of those singles. We all know the big home runs and the doubles. They're right there. There's a lot of hustle hits. And a lot of hits, honestly, were taken away in that month. I remember many a times that he was robbed. And if we're even going farther back, I saw today, going back to July 25th to the start of September, he had 10 home runs, 10 stolen bases, 100 total bases. Pretty damn impressive. And that's an understatement. This is shit that we haven't seen. He's breaking records that they're like 98 years old. Who knows who was keeping score back then? But huge award at the right time. Obviously, we got to move on from it. But what do you got to say about him and the award? We knew it was coming.
Yeah, just an incredible stretch. The first time he's won AL Player of the Month, and I would expect him to win many more throughout his career. It was certainly an incredible run, and I've never seen anybody so hot as Julio was during that month, and especially during that 4-game stretch that you mentioned where he had all those hits. I mean, he stormed back to lead the league in hits. Just an incredible month.
Yeah, and these weren't garbage time hits. These weren't not to knock Mike Trout, but these weren't Mike Trout stats playing on a team that it didn't matter if you win or lost in the big picture. These were, a lot of these were big, huge hits. A lot of these were late inning hits that he needed to come through in the clutch, which was one of the question marks on Julio. And he was answering his critics quite a bit in the month of August.
Yeah, for me, it wasn't only the hits; it was the the velocity, the sheer freaking. I mean, there are no cheapies with him throughout that whole month. They were all solid hits, and they were just laced. And I mean, it was just incredible how he was squaring up balls, barreling up balls, and just hitting them with authority. He was on his game for sure.
Yeah, and let's not forget about the defense last month. Great defense. I happened to be at that game where he had like 4 phenomenal catches along with the the theatrical robbing of a home run.
Yeah, he's an incredible talent, 5-tool player. He's got the charisma. He's got everything, and it's going to be exciting to continue to follow his career as a Seattle Mariner. That's a great month that he had. And I mean, can he get better? Absolutely. Can he stay that hot? Hard to say, but man, the future looks so bright for Julio.
Yeah, and we've heard some clamoring of like, hey, is he going to get some MVP votes? I think possibly he could. It depends how you look at the MVP for the job that he's asked to do. If he can carry the team like this and have a similar month. We know he just hit a home run right before this recording, becoming the first player in MLB history to have 25 plus and 25 plus in stolen bases in his first 2 seasons in the major league. You look at Ohtani and you hear the same words all the time or phrases, something that we've never seen before in MLB history. That phrase is thrown around quite a bit and it's very factual, but we're starting to hear the same phrases used for Julio. What do you got to say about that? Do you think if this is just a race like we talked about in the last episode? I believe the race for second place is the AL MVP is the race to watch along with the division race. Where do you think he could stack up? And do you think there is some sort of scenario that you could see him actually getting the AL player of the month by just strong arm robbing this from Ohtani?
I mean, anything's possible. I mean, at 22 years old, we forget that anything's possible. There's a month left to play. Yeah, if he goes on a heater like he did last month, anything's possible. Will he get some votes this year? For sure. But with Ohtani having the season that he did and going both ways, being a hitter and a pitcher, I mean, it's his to lose. So it's hard to say. I think Julio has a chance, but is it likely to happen? I probably would bet against it, but anything's possible, especially with what he did in August.
Yeah, I'm with you. If I had to put down a bet, could he steal it from Ohtani? My brain says no. My heart wants to say yes. But at the end of the day, you look at the Mariners team, even though he is the motor, he sets the tone. We ride on his back. That's the way the team was kind of set up. The Mariners have a lot of guys, though, that have come up in these hero spots. You got JP. You've seen what Teoscar Hernandez has done. We just did a last episode. Our last episode was about, hey, if Julio didn't have this record-setting month, we're looking at Teo possibly as the AL offensive player of the month, or even a look at Cal. So I think that's a big difference. Anaheim's been just hit with tons of injuries, and you've seen what Ohtani has done up until now, where has this UCL injury, and he's playing through it, and he does have these monster offensive numbers. But then again, you look at a team like the Mariners and look where we are and look where they are. That's kind of where you kind of can throw an argument, because how much of that is based off of like what you've done for your team, or how much of it is so much more individually driven.
Yeah, and with the Mariners, they're only going to go as far as Julio goes, and that's the number one goal for the team. But yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, if he gets on a hot streak, sure, he can be in the conversation for the MVP. Anything's possible, that's for sure.
Yeah, so we're just gonna have to see. I mean, I hope we could just see a record-breaking month this month. We're gonna need it. August is over. It's history. It's in the history books. September has not started off all that great for the Mariners. We'll be talking about that right after this.